My name is Emil Gomez. I'm a board member, and for over the past 40 years, I've been a volunteer with this organization called Community Tax Aid. Once upon a time, I went to Baruch College. I graduated from Baruch. I've been a CPA since 1986, so I'm really dating myself. But anyway, once upon a time, I was in my accounting club, and our accounting club had a guest speaker. The guest speaker was a gentleman named Jeffrey Gold, who was the founder of this organization. He's no longer with us. But during the course of his presentation, he stressed the need for giving back to the community, using what you have to help others. And in this case, it's your ability to prepare taxes. And that's what I want to talk to you about, and that's what we're about, Community Tax Aid. Okay, so that's the first slide. Let's see. Okay, so who are we? We're a not-for-profit organization, and we've prepared over 100,000 returns since 1969. And we are the oldest group of its kind in the country. And what I just said, I can say in confidence. Just a little bit of background. 6 months after this organization started, someone in the IRS heard about us saying, oh, this is a great group based in New York City that has done great work. Why don't we do something like that? So 6 months after we started Community Tax Aid, the IRS started VITA. Maybe you guys have heard VITA. And VITA is another organization out there. Finance in big part from the IRS. And we have somebody else here, Evan. Great. Okay, Evan, thank you for joining us. So again, we can lay claim to the fact that we are the oldest organization of our kind in the country. Okay, we are volunteers in the true sense of the word. I'm a member of the board of Community Tax Aid, and I don't receive a fee for what we do. And the people you're going to help today are taxpayers. We do not charge a fee for what we do. So it's volunteerism in the true sense of the word. Okay. Okay. Well, what do? Well, we prepare tax returns, and as you can see there, federal, state, and local tax returns for everybody at no charge. And when we say everybody, what we mean is people who are low-income individuals. And we have that defined to mean single individuals who make approximately $26,000 or less, and families or people who take care of children in their household. And if they make $55,000 or less, that is more or less our income limit for helping these people. And we focus on these people because based on their means, it's tough for them to get good quality tax preparation service that they have to pay for. And we want to make sure that everybody avails themselves to what is available on the tax code in terms of getting proper deductions, getting proper credits, making sure that they're entitled to the best and complete and accurate tax return, and that helps them in each and every way. There's so many credits out there, so many deductions out there. Some people, if you've ever prepared a tax return, you know yourself what a daunting task it is. So we help these people prepare their returns. We do it for them, all free of charge. Okay. And as you can see, well, why does a group like ours and others exist? Well, because of the rules. There's so many different tax rules out there. The federal income tax code, the Internal Revenue Code, if you guys have had a tax class, you know what I'm talking about, is this behemoth, this giant monster that's there. It's, Article 26, I believe, of the federal income tax code. Article 26 deals specifically with individual income taxes. So, and as you can imagine, and it's happening even as we speak, the code is constantly changing, constantly evolving. As a matter of fact, when we did our tax season last year, of course, it was under the umbrella of COVID, and got some more people entering. It was under the umbrella of COVID, and also during the tax season, and it's really never happened in my experiences with Community Tax Aid. The tax code changed even during the tax season. And by that, I mean, the federal government changed the way it treated unemployment compensation. If you guys remember that from around March of last year. So it meant that we had to scramble. We had to change what we did even during the tax season. So as you can see, that is a very an extreme example of how the tax code and the way it changes affects our lives and affects the lives of the people we're trying to help. So what we do as an organization is be cognizant of the latest updates in the tax code. Use that ability, that power, that gift we have to help others. Okay. So what we do, what we're asking is we volunteer and we train everybody in the basics of tax preparation. And it's kind of like a quid pro quo. We give you all this great information, and in exchange for that, we like you to contribute by helping others, again, prepare their tax returns, okay? And we do what's called the complete and accurate return. We try to do the best we can based on our knowledge of the code and also the information that our clientele tells us about themselves, okay? When we talk about the returns, we talk about federal returns, we talk about New York State returns, we talk about other state returns, and we even talk about other year returns, okay? That's what we do. We consider ourselves a professional tax organization, and by that I mean that your opinion is just as important as hopefully my opinion in terms of things. We treat everybody as professionals. We respect what you have to say, and hopefully you respect what I have to say. We learn from each other, and we constantly grow and share what we know to the betterment of ourselves, yourselves, and everyone else. Okay. Each year, I do these volunteer recruiting sessions. Other people do volunteer recruiting sessions as well. Sometimes we do it live. I was recently at the City College, and volunteer students make a big part of our volunteer base. We had over 150 people attend our training classes last year, and a good number of them, close to 100, were students from schools such as your school, NYU, and Baruch, and things like that. And we prepared 1,000 returns. We helped over 440 people, and we prepared close to 1,000 returns, even under the umbrella that's called COVID. Okay. Well, why choose CTA? I do have to say on the outset that our organization, again, is all volunteer, which again, I will state that we don't charge a fee for what we do. We're not compensated in any way. This, for you volunteer tax preparers, is a volunteer position. No one is compensated. But what do you get in return? Well, it gives you a sense of fulfillment, that you're taking what you have and you're giving back to the community. You're making our city better. You're making specific individuals better. You're helping yourself and you're helping others. You know, practically speaking, for our student audience out there, what you've learned is you're taking what you've learned in the classroom for those accounting students who happen to be listening, or if you have a business class, or if you've taken an accounting course, you're taking what you've learned in the classroom and you're using it in a real life situation. Okay. And of course, what you've learned and what you've done, what you will go through, what you experience at Community Tax Aid, you can put on a resume. It's practical experience that enhances and bolsters your resume. And in many instances, it means the difference between a candidate who qualifies for the job and perhaps a candidate who has great records, but hasn't gone the extra step and has done what you have done by volunteering with an organization such as ours. Okay, so again, I kind of like read the next slide in advance, but that next slide more or less summarizes what I just said. Your first job out there is going to be tough. You know, getting your first job or getting a job you like, you know, making yourself distinctive from other people, it's tough. You know, especially college students. I've been through this myself, of course. You'll be out in the workforce soon. What makes you different than other people? Again, I think the experience you get at Community Tax Aid helps. The second bullet point talks about great hands-on experience. Again, learning what you've learned in the classroom on a real-life situation. You can even network, you know, meet some nice people at Community Tax Aid, and you never know what it might lead to, okay? Of course, we also stress that you're helping yourself, but you're also helping others, the community who really needs our help. Again, what I just said previously is more or less pictured here. You can put this information on a grad school application or your resume. Okay? I'm a CPA, and I mentioned at the start, and I've been a CPA since 1986. Well, guess what? I still have to go through training, and that makes sense because if the code is constantly evolving, we have to take classes. No matter what your background is, you have to go through training, okay? And it's led by instructors. As a matter of fact, I will be one of the instructors for our next training class, which we're planning and which will be held in January, late January. And guess what? If somebody here listening right now were to go to YouTube and to Google, just put in the chat box, Community Tax Aid, you will see our training that we gave last year. It's all on YouTube. So if you guys wanted to do that, somebody did that at another one of these recruiting sites and sent the link in the chat box. So you guys can do that. You get a better idea of what we're about by looking at the training class we gave last year. Of course, we don't expect you to attend last year's training, look at last year's training video and say, I'm ready for this year. Because again, everything is changing. There's a lot of changes in terms of taxes that affect the low income individual. It is going to affect our presentation this year. But if you did want to get an idea of the quality of our work as evidenced by the training we give, you don't have to do it right now. You can do it a little bit later. Go to YouTube, type in Community Tax Aid, and you will see our training classes. That'll be there, I assume, forever. I see there's something in the chat. I guess after the presentation, if you guys want to look at, enter something in the chat, I'll do my best to answer your questions. Look at the chat right now. I do have my contact information there, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, instructor-led training. So again, I stress the word free and no charge. We will give you everything you need to know to prepare a return. We will give you the training, which happens to be free. We will give you all the materials you need to have to prepare a return, which is free. We will give you access to our tax software, which is free and which is an online version of what we have, and it is free. So everything we give you is free. And of course, you have all these great tools, and you can use it to prepare the returns, okay? Again, talk about training a little bit similar to what we did last year because we were working this umbrella called COVID. More or less, we have training classes under Zoom. More or less, that's how it's going to be the last Saturday in January. We think at this point, we used to have it face-to-face and live. We'll have it live, but not necessarily face-to-face. In other words, we won't have a classroom setting that you guys might be used to, okay? Just to give you an idea of the classroom setting, these are some pictures of prior in-house live classes that we had in the past, okay? So that's more or less a picture of the classes that we had, all right? So during the season, you'll be learning and networking with other peers. And of course, we have to take it a step back because we assume at this point, we're not really sure. We're in the midst of reaching out to our contacts. There is a chance that some of our contacts will allow us to be on their premises. In other words, we will have face-to-face meetings with our taxpayers. And of course, under COVID protocols, experiencing certain distances, wearing masks, there is an outside chance that is going to happen. We are reaching out to some of our contacts, our storefronts, which is a community donated space, because we're a year past COVID and somehow we've got a handle on it. We're not completely out of the woods when it comes to this big issue that's affecting everybody. There's an outside chance that we will have face-to-face meetings with our taxpayers. We will also most likely conduct ourselves through virtual methods, which means that we will give you information of other taxpayers, more or less PDF documents or access to our shared cloud drive where all of these documents will be stored. You will have access to our tax software, have access to certain materials where we want you to conduct an interview with the taxpayer, and then you are responsible for conducting an interview with the taxpayer, either via telephone, or if the person is technically savvy and has access to a computer, it could be through a Google Meet or a Zoom meeting, just like we're having right now, okay? Some of the other tax volunteers that we have are such as myself. I'm a CPA. We do have attorneys on staff. We have other experienced volunteers. And of course, we have new volunteers, such as yourselves. Okay, so when you talk about taxes and you talk about the tax season, you know, that little phrase means that, oh, we only do our work from February, more or less, through April, and that's it, and tax season's over. Well, when it comes to an organization such as ours, Community Tax Aid, and really accounting firms and tax firms, we consider ourselves an all-year volunteer preparation service. We do hear from people even after April 15th. Well, why? Oh, well, maybe their returns are filed late. They could have been on an extension, and we can still file their return. Or they might have received a letter from the IRS in New York State questioning something on their return, or saying, well, you never filed the return at all. And we know that we filed the return, and we're going to verify some information. The point I'm making is they don't stop seeing us. We don't see them after April 15th. We are an all-year organization. We meet with these taxpayers even after April 15th, and we are still almost as busy throughout the whole year. And also, I'm a member of the board, and we meet every month, essentially, throughout the whole year. We give ourselves a month or two off in the summer. We want to enjoy the summer, but we plan for the next year. And so if you like what you've experienced with CTA, with Community Tax Aid, such as I have, so I guess you can gather from what I've said about myself so far that I'm very passionate about this. It's a big part of my life, and the answer to that is yes, guilty. It is. It is very important, and I like doing this just as much as I have my job and I do what I do there. So hopefully you'll be just as impressed with what you're about to do with Community Tax Aid, and you'll become part of us. You'll become a very good full-fledged volunteer. You'll come back next year, and you'll have great ideas in terms of how our organization can grow the next year and the year beyond that. Okay. So those are some of the committees we have within Community Tax Aid: fundraising, publicity, technology, et cetera. We're thinking about having a social media committee. Where one of our meetings recently, we talked about that. So if you guys are social media savvy, we'd like to hear your ideas in terms of increasing our social media presence, in terms of reaching out to more taxpayers through social media, reaching out to possible fundraisers, possible donors through social media, organizations that can spread the word about us through social media. So if you guys are very social media savvy, we'd like to hear from you about your ideas and your thoughts about how do we use this tool, this 21st century tool called social media, to broaden our reach. In terms of your schedule, well, what we expect from you after training, and again, everyone, no matter what your background is, has to go through training. We expect you to work at least one day a week, and those hours are flexible. If we do have the in-person option, those storefronts that we call them, the community donated space, is open, excuse me, more or less one day a week. From, say, if it's open during the weekend, it's more or less from 10 to 2. Some of them might be open during the week when we're trying to get them open during the afternoon, say 1 to 5. So in effect, it's one day a week for about 4 hours. And if you make a commitment to one of these in-person storefronts, just let us know that I'm willing to do this. And of course, we understand that school, work, and family obligations come first. And you can't be with us 1 week. Just reach out to us, reach out to your manager and assistant manager saying, well, I can't be with you 1 week. But hopefully you'll show up the next week, so that way we can service more taxpayers, okay? But again, the first bullet point says our hours are flexible, and that's especially true during our virtual option, where you've been given the information, you have the option of meeting virtually this person, this taxpayer, anytime that your schedule permits. And you can always do the tax preparation work and reach out to us for update and guidance anytime during the day. And we've had that where some people, especially towards the end of the tax season, would reach out to us 10 o'clock at night or Saturday night or early Sunday morning. So in other words, that's an extreme case, but it did happen where your schedule is so flexible that I can work it in my school studies. I can prepare this return and I'll reach out to a manager. As long as you let that manager know, are you available for me this day so we can go over the return I just prepared? We are that flexible in terms of our schedule and yours, hopefully. Okay, so in order to more or less summarize what I've said more or less this past half hour, again, CTA gives you these great benefits, great tax training, sharpens your tax skills in terms of preparing your own tax return or your friends or family members. And again, all training is classroom based. And again, if you want to have an idea of how we conducted our training, I told you about going to YouTube and typing in community tax aid. And again, we believe, and this has happened in the past, we've had examples of people who have used CTA on their resume, put down the fact that they had experience, and we've heard from prospective employers asking about these people. So it has happened, okay? Some other benefits, if you're going to become accountants and CPAs, if that's your ultimate career goal, this is, again, the first step into reaching that goal. It gives you a skill and a marketable skill. Again, we think it helps you in terms of your job-seeking skills, your network. You meet great people such as myself and other people. And again, it's a way of giving back to your community. Okay. These are some testimonials, some things that have been said about community tax aid. You can find this on our website as well. I'll put our website on the chat, but I think it's also listed on this presentation, but I'll also put our website on the chat too. So again, a client has said this about us, that if I went to another person, a pay preparer, I would have paid this, and I paid even more. But guess what? That person came to us later on, and we prepared their return free of charge. A volunteer talked about what it meant for them to volunteer. Very satisfying. A lot of people can't afford to pay the tax preparation work. Another person says, and again, very deeply, that you are affecting someone's life. You're helping them in terms of credits, in terms of money they're supposed to be getting, they qualify for, and they might not be aware of. You are changing their lives, especially now. There was the news lately talks about inflation running rampant, and the prices of a lot of goods are skyrocketing. And so imagine that, trying to make ends meet, trying to buy the same basic needs, and all of a sudden those prices have gone up. Well, you can help these people by getting great refunds that they're entitled to. I want to stress that they're entitled to, and that in turn can help them get these essential needs. Okay. Jeffrey Gold is the person I mentioned at the start of training. He's no longer with us. He was the founder, along with 13 other individuals, who started this organization. And this is what he said about community tax aid. And again, as you can imagine, he was a very persuasive person. I listened to what he said, and 40 years later, I'm still with the organization. Okay, we still have some other people who have founded community tax aid. They are part of our organization. One of those individuals is an attorney, and he will also be one of our instructors at training, and you'll get to meet him if you work at his storefront. His name is Sheldon Barish. Okay. So again, hopefully I gave a good presentation about this organization. Consider volunteering your time with CTA, I look at it this way. I've heard this phrase a lot. It's making an investment in yourself. Everybody is investing their time right now, going to school and pursuing their interests and ultimately starting a career based on their interests. So this little chunk of the time that we want you to contribute to us is another part of this investment in yourself. It's making you a better person. It's making you a better student. It's making you a better accountant in the long run, or anybody else who wants to help people. It's you're making an investment in yourself. So I thank you for hearing me. That's the end of the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going